The fire alarm went off at 6:43 a.m. in warehouse 12, but there was no fire. The system had short-circuited while trying to process two identical orders sent to the same vendor by different departments. Double billing, double shipping. Nobody noticed until pallets arrived with the same SKU twice. One labeled Priority CEO, the other Urgent Strategy Team. That's when I knew Atlas was struggling. Not failing, just coughing quietly before a bigger problem. I'm Austin Cooper, 47, and I've been keeping this company's digital operations alive for 22 years. But let me back up. 2 weeks prior, I was under my desk, Red Bull in one hand, Ethernet sniffer in the other, figuring out why Atlas had suddenly granted all January birthdays paid time off. That wasn't a glitch. Maybe payroll's Eddie Rodriguez was manipulating the system so his twins could go to Disney. I fixed it silently, logged it, moved on. That was the unspoken agreement. I keep Atlas running, and the company leaves me alone. No icebreakers, no forced birthday cards, no pointless meetings. Just me, my machine, and a mess of code that looked like spaghetti cooked by a blindfolded raccoon. Atlas wasn't elegant, but it worked because I worked. I wasn't flashy, wasn't loud, but I was necessary, even if executives forgot I existed. I patched the procurement system after the 2019 digital transformation failed, built the HR backend so they could track metrics, designed routing systems to prevent late shipments from becoming complaints. Yet I didn't speak at town halls or wear designer suits. Only a few staff on the third floor knew me. Hunter Thompson in logistics called me the ghost in the wires. Grace Johnson in accounting once left me a note. "Thanks for making the printer work again. You're the only reason I haven't stabbed Eddie with a letter opener." I kept it on my fridge, next to my daughter's college acceptance letter. Sure, my company card occasionally showed charges labeled cybersecurity certifications or zero-day workshops, submitted quarterly without question. Finance, HR, even the VP of operations never questioned it. Why? Because when Atlas fails, people lose bonuses. When Atlas crashes, people lose jobs. I started here at 25, right after the post-9/11 downturn, fresh out of community college. I survived management changes, the dot-com aftermath, the 2008 recession, and COVID shutdowns. Every time, talks of right-sizing or optimization flew, but they kept me because when the lights went out, I turned them back on. My approach was simple: quiet nightly updates, system reports routed through my console, admin keys rotated weekly, and everything backed up off-site, triple encrypted, biometrically secured. I trusted no one with sensitive access. Brandon Miller from sales once bricked his laptop clicking a pop-up twice. Atlas held everything: logistics, payroll, vendor timelines, ticket routing, budgets, shift rotations, compliance flags, even snack orders, manufacturing floor connectivity, supply chain validation, regulatory reporting. Unplug me and the lights stay on, but nothing moves. A Ferrari with no key, no gas, and a firewall-protected engine. Built on a legacy AS400 backbone with modern APIs I wrote, COBOL modules handled manufacturing, Python scripts managed vendors. Ugly but efficient, like a 1969 Camaro with a turbocharged engine. Old school reliability with modern performance. Executives never questioned it. That changed when Brooke Mason arrived. Platinum blonde, perfectly manicured, newly hired into HR thanks to nepotism. Rumor had her fired from her last job for mismanaging the diversity budget. Yet she walked the halls like she built the servers herself, MBA in hand, throwing around buzzwords like digital transformation and agile methodology as if they were magic spells. On her third day, she asked my manager about an $18,400 expense for penetration testing frameworks. Manager replied, "Because if he stops, we get hacked." Brooke didn't laugh. She went straight to finance, compliance, and the CEO. I saw her print my expense report on pink paper and slam it on the table. It was the start of a countdown. 8 hours until the foundation shook. I smiled anyway. Atlas only answers to me. The meeting was supposed to cover Q3 morale strategies, a 2-hour PowerPoint arguing pizza parties could compensate for bonus cuts. I attended because the invite was mandatory, hoodie up, black coffee in hand, unnoticed. Brooke clicked to slide 7. My name was the headline, Austin C., ongoing non-compliance with expense policy. She outlined unauthorized charges, training courses, security licenses, $18,400 in cybersecurity expenses over the past year, nearly 20% of the professional development budget. Engineering knew these weren't ordinary courses. They were enterprise-grade security certifications, penetration testing frameworks, zero-day databases that prevent breaches. But nobody spoke. Brooke pressed. No HR approvals, no objectives, no assessments. Section 4.7.2 violations. Finally, she faced me. Why treat company funds like a personal Amazon account? I could have explained the SQL injection I blocked, the ransomware attacks I defended against, the compliance audit rating us exemplary, but I remained silent. I didn't explain. In that moment, I understood. They didn't want answers. They wanted a scapegoat, someone quiet, unassuming, who wouldn't push back. Someone they could fire to show the board they were optimizing human capital. I don't, I said simply. Brooke blinked. Excuse me, she asked. I don't want to explain anything to you. The silence was absolute, 23 people holding their breath, waiting for an outburst. Brooke's smile faltered, then she recovered. I've cleared this with the CEO. Effective immediately, your employment is terminated. Please surrender your badge and log out of all systems. A security escort will be provided if necessary. You could feel the room's temperature drop. The air went still, as if even the molecules were waiting to see my reaction. Brooke stood there, confident, thinking she'd solved the company's biggest problem. I stood calmly. No tremor, just a slow rise and a glance around. Half the engineers looked frozen. One operations employee typed on a half-closed laptop, probably updating LinkedIn. Iris Taylor from Sales Ops stared at me in panic. She knew that firing the person keeping everything running for 22 years was like removing the foundation while the house stood. I pulled my badge from my hoodie, placed it on the conference table next to the coffee carafe, like leaving a tip. I looked at Brooke once. You have 8 hours, I said. She blinked. Excuse me? 8 hours before everything stops running. Is that a threat? Her voice wavered. No, I said, already heading for the door. It's a timeline. I walked out. No speech, no theatrics, just that statement hanging in the air. The elevator doors closed, cutting off the murmurs. What Brooke never understood was that Atlas didn't just run logistics. It was logistics. Payroll, dispatch, invoicing, deadline tracking, compliance alerts, supplier validation, manufacturing coordination, regulatory reporting. I wasn't there for power or job security. I built Atlas to function. I fixed errors at 3 a.m., patched vendors before shifts noticed, made reports exist for auditors. Brooke assumed I was a quiet drone wasting company funds on Netflix and certifications. She didn't know those courses were enterprise-grade security tools, tied to my credentials, biometric signatures, and vendor trust. No backup administrator, no override, just me. 8 hours. The final authentication cycle before Atlas would expire. Not sabotage, entropy. A natural timeout triggered by the absence of the only person who could reset it. I exited the elevator on the 3rd floor, past Felix Anderson in accounting, who saw me but said nothing. My cubicle was unchanged, a half-dead cactus, a repaired bobblehead, 2 stained coffee mugs. I packed my bag quietly, pens, backup drives, everything. Whispers floated behind partitions. Did he really get fired? He's the only one who ever helped with ticket routing. I thought he was the system. No one intervened. 15 minutes later, Brooke strutted past the engineering pit, heels clicking, convinced she'd solved a problem. She had no idea what she'd done. I pulled a USB stick from my drawer, marked only with good luck and Sharpie, and placed it on my chair. Inside were recovery procedures, emergency protocols, backdoors I'd built over 22 years, password protected and tied to credentials that would expire when I left. Zipping my bag, I left with the quiet professionalism earned from years of fixing broken systems. No slamming drawers, no theatrics, just a calm exit. Atlas had 23 failsafes, each triggered by my badge leaving without handoff. Brooke unknowingly started a countdown disguised as efficiency. As I entered the elevator, Eddie Rodriguez called, "Hey, Austin, wait!" But the doors closed before he finished. Let him wonder. Let them all wonder. I descended in silence, the faint beeps of each floor like a ticking clock. By the lobby, my access badge had deactivated. I nodded past security, past the CEO's photo, past the motivational poster I once saved servers under. Out the glass doors, the October air in Ohio was crisp, leaves turning brown like old coffee stains. Freedom smelled like road salt and dying leaves after 22 years of recycled office air. I didn't cry, didn't shout or kick anything. I sat in my car, pulled out my backup phone, and sent one message. Trigger acknowledged. Key rotation engaged. Clocks ticking. Then I drove away. No plan to return, no exit interview, no follow-up. That USB stick, though, that was a gift or a warning. Whoever picked it up first would decide. Hour one began with a missed shipment. A small freight truck with regional product samples for the VP Summit in Chicago didn't leave the dock. The shipping label printed blank. The route manifest spat out question marks and a single crying emoji. The warehouse manager, Dustin, assumed a printer error and resent the job. Same result. Attempts to reroute through the backup queue failed. The queue no longer existed. The platform redirected them to a deprecated error page I had buried years ago behind layers of warnings. Hour two. Payroll called IT. Half their disbursements were stuck in draft, the other half gone. Reports timed out, consoles locked. Attempts to reach a backup administrator failed. There wasn't one. I'd always intended to set one up, document handoffs, train a successor. But there were always fires to put out, urgent patches, crises only I could handle. Atlas flashed a red banner. Access denied. You are not the chosen one. A joke I'd coded 3 years earlier, never seen before. The clock was ticking. The building slowly realized they just fired the only person who could stop it. By hour three, Brooke led her change acceleration team, insisting minor glitches were just growing pains. Downstairs, Caleb Williams inherited my office, systems, and the lingering scent of burnt coffee. Every dashboard blinked red. Every recovery attempt returned admin validation expired. Up in sales ops, Iris Taylor pieced it together. Austin managed Atlas. Intern whispered, I thought he was like a ghost, like AI. Iris sought my old office, found it locked, called IT, then legal. Panic spread. Hour four, manufacturing froze. The scheduling module issued conflicting orders across 2 facilities. Line supervisors were instructed to build non-existent products with unavailable materials. QC databases locked with this. Please contact your system administrator. Unions called. Lawyers followed. Legal tried compliance reports. Atlas responded with a raccoon gif setting a trash can on fire, a stress relief joke I'd buried in error handling. Hour five, the CEO arrived, unprepared, facing an empty conference room. By the time he reached the operations war room, Brooke was deflecting. Legacy system. Austin didn't document properly. CTO interrupted. Austin was the documentation. That's when they found the USB stick. Holly Davis handed it to Caleb like a live grenade. 37 folders, thousands of files, every recovery procedure, emergency protocol, backdoor I built over 22 years. Password protected, tied to credentials that expired when I left. Read me. Good luck rebuilding what took 2 decades to perfect. AC Hour 6, vendors called about canceled orders. Customers demanded explanations. Regulatory filings missed deadlines for the first time in 8 years. Hour 7, a consultant arrived, modern systems only. Brooke led him to the server room. Austin's files should be here. He quickly realized the custom architecture required root access tied to my credentials. 30 minutes later, he left with a branded notepad and a haunted look. Hour 8, the board convened. Stock down 12%. Customers threatened breach of contract. Unions demanded answers. News covered the failure. They tried calling me, voicemail. You've reached Austin Cooper. I'm unavailable. Refer to the documentation provided. Texts read, then nothing. Austin wasn't hiding, plotting revenge. He was signing contracts with the company's biggest client. New title, Chief Technology Officer. New salary, 40% raise. New mission, helping their competitor build systems that would outperform my former employer in 6 months. At 5:01 p.m., 8 hours and 18 minutes after leaving my badge, every executive received the same email. Atlas Final Certification Purge executed. Reference ID Austin certified. Root admin key has been purged. Recovery requires original certifying agent. Irreversible. Then Slack lit up. Not from anyone, but Atlas itself. Good luck. You had 8 hours. Silence fell. Everyone understood. This wasn't sabotage. This was subtraction. Remove the spine, and the body collapses. I hadn't just walked away. I had walked through them. And when I left, I took gravity with me.